What is up, America? Welcome into another episode of Juiced Up, only found right here on Gallery Sports, gallerysports.com. I'm Rachael Van Oranje, and as you probably already know, on this show, I give you my passionate, unfiltered takes on whatever's going on in the world of sports. And hey, you know what? My Houston Cougars basketball team is undefeated. They are the #1 ranked team in the United States of America, according to any of the polls that actually matter. And I am juiced up to talk about it. And I got a really good guest on today to help me do that. I've got Yanez. He's one of Gallery Sports' very own. He is our personal Cougar men's basketball insider. He writes for us. He's also the host of the Let's Rage Cougs podcast and the Pod Slamma Jamma. Andy, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about these Cougs. Look, it's about time that the city of Houston wakes up and gets on board, because this is a team that is definitely going to be making some moves, in my opinion, come March in the tournament. So I want to talk to you about that. The Cougars, they are ranked #1. And I want to know, do you think, in your opinion, is this the best team that Kelvin Sampson has ever coached, at least at the University of Houston? You don't have to include Oklahoma. You can if you want to.
Well, Rachel, let me just start by saying it's an honor to be on this show. And in regards to your question, you're throwing me right in the fire right off the gates. But I will say this, at least during his time in Houston, it's certainly the best team that Houston has had under Kelvin Sampson. The reason for that, I'm going to say it starts top to bottom with the depth that they have. They are just so deep at so many different positions. And it's kind of a committee. It's kind of a committee approach, because on any given night, you don't know who's going to be the player that really hurts you on both offense, and they are a tremendous defensive team in regards to the country. They're the top team across the entire country and holding opponents the fewest points per game. Every time a team comes into the Fertitta Center or they play them on the road, they know they're going to be in for a rough shooting night. And that's really overall, that's where this team has excelled in the season. And that's a big reason why they're 8-0. And like you said, they're sitting #1 in the AP poll. It just released their #1 in the coaches poll. They're #1 in the NCAA net rankings, which just released today. They're #1 in a lot of categories. And there's a good reason why. Like you said, for Houston fans, they need to wake up. I know now that the Astros are in the off season, the Texans and Rockets are struggling by their season. This is a program that if you start watching now, they have a chance to do some really exciting things come March and April.
Yeah, absolutely. I always feel like the fans here around town can sometimes be a little slow to get on board, but I need for them to wake the heck up, okay? Go Cougs, baby. All right. So I got another question. I'm going to kind of throw you into the fire here. I know it is way, 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 way too early to make a prediction like this, but we're going to do it anyways. Is there a team that you've watched in college basketball around the country that you could see really, truly kind of pushing U of H? Let's say they get to the Final Four here in Houston. What's another team that you expect to be there? Who do you think gives Houston the most problems, just based on what you've seen so far?
Absolutely. I think the team that stands out for me, right, really off the gates, it's UConn. And really what I've seen from them, how strong, similar to Houston, how strong they defense. They're lengthy as heck, and they've dominated. They went into the Phil Knight tournament up in Oregon just a couple weeks ago during Thanksgiving weekend, and geez, they dominated some of the premier schools in the country, the entire country up there. I think the biggest test so far that a lot of eyeballs are going to be on Houston is going to be this upcoming Saturday when they take on #8 Alabama, which Houston fans, they've had that game circled since the non-conference schedule came out for Houston over in the summer, because as every Houston fan knows, last season, the controversy that Houston and Alabama had last year when they had to travel up to Tuscaloosa, it came down to the very end on a potential goaltending call that a lot of fans say it should have been goaltending. They didn't call goaltending. Alabama escaped with the victory, and Houston fans have wanted revenge since that. So it's going to be the first time that two top 10 teams meet, and with Houston being #1 in the country, it's going to be electric. It's going to be the first time two top 10 teams meet in the Fertitta Center, the young arena that is the home of the Houston Cougars. And then Virginia, that's another team that's been spectacular early on in the season. A couple weeks from now, Houston's going to have to travel up north and take on a pretty good Virginia team. So there's teams that'll give them problems. There's a lot of lengthy teams. That's been one of the issues. And when in regards to Houston, in order for you to be able to beat Houston, you have to be able to defend at a high level, because even if Houston's not shooting well, that's what they're going to do specifically. And if you can't defend, you don't have a shot against this Houston Cougars team.
Yeah, I love how fundamentally sound every Kelvin Sampson team seems to be. This one, obviously, no different. Defense being the highlight of it. And I've had that Alabama game circled on my schedule as well. I'm hoping to be able to go make it out there for that game. Looking forward to that. Now, let's talk about big boy conferences. U of H is on its way to the Big 12 next year. Okay. And I was looking at the rankings, obviously Baylor's good. You know what they're going to do every year. Texas is good. I don't know how long they're going to be here, but Texas is good. They'll be there next year. Kansas is good, obviously. Now, here in the American Athletic Conference, Houston has experienced quite a bit of success as of late, right? They're dominating the conference. Do you think that Houston will go into the Big 12 with those other schools and continue its dominance, or at least something close to it? How do you think Houston's going to perform in the Big 12?
Well, I'm not sure if you can be dominant in that Big 12 conference because going back to the net rankings, there's these things called quad one games, which essentially, depending on where the game is being played, a quad one opponent is basically the cream of the crop across college basketball. If you're a quad one team, that means that you're one of the elite teams in the entire country. And like I said, Houston is number one in the net rankings, but you look across the Big 12, you have West Virginia at 11th, Texas at 12, Kansas is at 18, Iowa State 22, Baylor is 32, and Oklahoma is 46. That's just counting the top 50. So every game in and day out, night in and night out, it's going to be a quad one opportunity for the Houston Cougars. I don't think any team can dominate that conference because it's just so elite top to bottom. Every given night is going to be really a slobber knocker. It's going to be a tough battle. Now, turn it over to the American Athletic Conference, and Memphis is the number 2 team, I would say, sir, early on, and they're into the middle to late 30s. So you see the significant drop off of where Houston is in the American Athletic Conference. I think it's going to be a tough task to try to ask for domination, but Houston's not going to go into the Big 12 just being happy that they're part of that conference. They're going to be right there in the middle with Texas, who, like you said, they're expected to be in the conference next season. Baylor, Kansas as the reigning national champions. That's where Houston's going to be. They're going to be right in the mix of all that Big 12 conference where they can finish number 1, 2, 3. Who knows? But because the Big 12 is so good, they're certainly going to continue to be one of those elite teams night in and night out. Now, how tough that brutal schedule it is, we'll see how they react, but they're certainly going to be right in the mix.
I love it. You know what? This is what diehard Cougars fans have been wanting for a while is, strength of schedule, other schools good schools to have to play against us. Well, we're here now. It's coming. So we better put up and shut up, right? I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the challenge. So, hey, Andy, thank you so much for joining the show today. I can't wait to have you back on. Maybe I can get you back on after the Alabama game, see where we're at with everything. But I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for coming on. Guys, that's all the time we have for today. This has been another episode of Juiced Up, only found right here on Gallery Sports, gallerysports.com. That is your one-stop shop. One stop. You don't need anything else. One-stop shop for instant insight and information. I'm Rachael Van Oranje, and I will see you mañana.